I'm here with Bill Ford, obviously chairman of Ford Motor Company, but also a real Detroiter. Your great-grandfather, even before Henry, moved here from Ireland in the 1800s. This morning at 12:01 a.m., Detroit came out of bankruptcy, emerged from bankruptcy protection. What do you think about the city?
You know, that's fantastic. But really, the business health of Detroit has been building, way beyond this whole bankruptcy deal. I mean, in fact, until this morning, we almost had a tale of two cities. We had a business community that was doing very, very well, but we also had the bankruptcy. Now that that's behind us, I feel great about the future of Detroit.
So, and I mean, what you're doing here, as we talk about the future of Ford, you're thinking about the future of Detroit as well, because you're partnering with Techstars to bring new companies here. It's sort of a venture capital, starting a venture capital business to bring new entrepreneurs to Detroit.
Yeah, I mean, I look at our business, and it's changing dramatically. I mean, if I look at the, whether it's the ownership models with, fractional ownership or, autonomous driving, vehicle-to-vehicle communication, vehicle-to-infrastructure communication, all these things are coming now into our industry. And we need really bright young people, just as other industries do, to help us imagine our way out of this and to really create a future that I think is incredibly compelling. And I couldn't be more excited that we're doing it here in Detroit because, we are the Motor City. But as we think about these mobility issues going forward, it wasn't necessarily obvious that Detroit would be the locus of activity in terms of solving these problems. But now I think Detroit can be.
How do you sell Detroit to these guys? I mean, back when your great-grandfather founded Ford, there were 60 other car companies kind of vying for, and now there's only 3, really kind of 2 here. So how do you sell Detroit to these kids?
Well, first of all, you're right. The number's down, but we are huge companies that we could be enormous customers for these young startups. But secondly, we have a culture of innovation here, and Michigan has the most trained engineers of any state in the country. And so plus, it's really exciting to see what's happening in the city. The young people that are pouring into the city, they've bought up all the lofts. You can't find them anymore. Office spaces at a premium, which is incredible given where everything was a few years ago. And it's all filled by young people and a ton of startups now happening in Detroit. So it's really not a hard sell. I mean, it's selling itself.
Let me ask about embracing the future. Ford Motor Company executives talk about the sharing economy a lot. You talk about problems like reducing traffic. How do you juxtapose that, or how do you balance that with the goal of making more cars and selling more cars? I mean, they seem to be these two things kind of at odds with each other.
Perhaps, and particularly in urban areas, but I don't look at it as a problem. I look at it as a great opportunity, because if you believe, as I do, that the purpose of any company is to make people's lives better, then this is just a new opportunity to do that. And if, put another way, if we put our head in the sand and say we're just going to do business as usual the way we've done it for 100 years, then these big urban problems like congestion and urban pollution and people not being able to move at all, they're just going to get worse and worse. But if we can unleash the creativity of our company and of other partners to really help address these, we make people's lives better. Our business model, yes, could change as we think about what we'll be doing in the future. But I think it's a great opportunity.
Do you see us getting to the peak car? A lot of people have been talking about this recently. If we're producing 16, 17 million here, Europe kind of teetering. And,
well, it depends what you talk about. I mean, it's different all around the world. I mean, you've got still dramatic growth in parts of Asia, particularly China, but other parts of Asia too. We've just launched Middle East and Africa as a new business unit where we see a lot of growth ahead of us there. But you're right. In the mature markets, Europe and the U.S., there is growth ahead of us, but certainly nothing exponential. But all around the world, we have to address this issue of urban mobility and helping to move people and move goods and move healthcare and move food in a way that's effortless and seamless. And because people are getting frustrated, and you see cities now start to enact their own solutions that really are just Band-Aids. They don't solve anything. So this is a great opportunity for us to help solve those problems.
Do you see an opportunity as far as the auto industry is concerned? I mean, Sergio Marchionne says there's one more big merger coming. There have been reports that Piech and Volkswagen may have been even interested in taking over part or all of Fiat Chrysler. I mean, is the industry, does it need to consolidate?
You know, Matt, it's interesting. I was part of a study at Ford in the early 80s that said within 10 years there would be 2 Asian companies, 2 European companies, and 2 American companies, and all the rest would be absorbed. But in fact, the world didn't turn out that way. And if you look at all the prognostications of every CEO, really over the last 30 years, they've all been saying this. But in fact, we've seen the opposite. We've seen new companies come in. You know, we've seen Korean companies, now Chinese companies, Tesla, you know, and other, you know, Fisker that, you know, I mean, you've seen startups come in. You've seen them come from different countries. Intellectually, does it make sense? Yeah, probably. But it's very tough to do. Merging companies is very difficult, and you waste a lot of time when you do that, trying to figure out how you're going to run this thing, what management teams do you keep. There are a lot of things that go into this that make, you know, what seems like a simple exercise on paper not so simple.
How about a closer cooperation? I mean, Renault, Nissan work together well. You talk with John Elkann a lot from Fiat. Do you see maybe Ford's and Agnelli's getting together to cooperate?
Well, look, I like John Elkann a whole lot, but you know, he's got his challenges and we've got our mission. But yeah, I mean, where it makes sense, and you know, in fact, we've always done it. We've had relationships with PSA in Europe over engines, and I could sort of, you know, with Mazda in Asia, and I could go down the list. So we're always open to working with companies where it makes sense tactically. But you know, whether it's a huge strategic alliance, I think that's more difficult.
Got it. All right, Bill, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Best of luck to you and Detroit with this Techstars initiative. Really exciting.